Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Democrats. All right. We're going to get started with our program because we had an outstanding response in terms of our elected officials and speakers for this annual event. And so we're going to start a little bit earlier so that we can have time to get all of our speakers up here on the agenda. I would like to welcome you to our 10th annual Palos Verdes Democrats annual meeting and picnic. Now, my name is Tim Dixon, and I'm the new president of the Peninsula Democratic Club. And obviously, we have a great turnout this afternoon, and we appreciate all of you for your participation and your support. I'd like to thank the members of our club and the volunteers who made this club and made the event this afternoon successful. And I'd in particular like to thank our board for all their hard work. Our board members contribute countless hours to promote our democratic values, and this event would not have been possible without our board. Many of them are working right now, finalizing and getting everybody checked in, but I do want to introduce them. In the back of the room that was near the buffet, our recording secretary, Casey Crow. At registration still, I believe, our corresponding secretary, Ann Stahl. I think our treasurer is right there waving at us, Paul Close. Our parliamentarian, Carol Moeller. Our membership chair, and if you are not yet a member of Palos Verdes Democrats, you probably twisted your arm. He's at the table over there, Larry Donahue. Our publicity chair, Allison Phillips. Where are you, Allison? Our LA County Democratic Party associate, John Munoz. Our activism chair, and she's everywhere. She's the Energizer Bunny, the way she moves around and gets people to sign up to phone bank and precinct walk, Carol Schwartz. And our past president, Connie Sullivan. Yeah. In addition, although he's not currently on the board, I want to thank Reggie Jew for all of his work as our webmaster. A couple of our board members did not seek re-election, and I want to recognize Allison Phillips, who served as our publicity chairperson. Thank you for all of your service, Allison. And then I'd also like to thank Carol Moeller. She's retiring from our board, not from the club, but at this time she's going to take a break from the board after over 16 years. Carol has served in every capacity from president to parliamentarian, and she was awarded the Democrat of the Year by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party for her service. Thank you for your service, Carol. I also want to extend appreciation to our new board members, Jeannie Hahn, who volunteered to be our new newsletter editor, and Kara Kent, who's been volunteered to be our publicity chairperson. Thank you to both of them. Some special recognition. Behind me, Tom Kenyon. He's a member of Torrance Democrats, and he's donating his time and sound equipment for this event. Thank you, Tom. And Jimmy Gao is here, the president of Torrance Democrats, and for loaning a lot of equipment for this event. And thank you, Jimmy, for your support. I want to thank Rob Catherman. He's the director at the Water Replenishment District, and his agency donated all of the bottled water for this event. Thank you, Rob. And I'd like to thank the officers and members, because we have a lot of officers and members of our sister Democratic clubs and organizations. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your participation in this event. We also have a couple of honored guests that are not speaking today. We have Assam Sheikh from the Torrance City Council. Assam, can you wave to the crowd? There he is. And we have Dion Cho from the Redondo Beach School Board joining us today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge the past presidents of Palos Verdes Democrats who are here this afternoon. She's going to get mentioned a few times. Connie Sullivan. Thank you, Connie. Carol Muller, who we already mentioned, our 16-year board member. And Kay Ju is here, a former president. I also believe Tony Hale just arrived. Tony, are you here with us? Thank you, Tony, for joining us today, and he's in the back there. Finally, I want to recognize again Connie Sullivan. She is our regional director of the California Democratic Party and the Assembly District Chair of the 66th Assembly District of Los Angeles County. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your wisdom. And we're going to continue to lean on you, Connie, for all that you do. Thank you. Now, we have a great lineup today of elected leaders and candidates that are going to speak to you this afternoon. But before I introduce our guest speakers, I wanted to share just a few opening remarks. Palos Verdes Democrats has been fighting for our democratic values for over 70 years. Our club was founded in 1952, and our logo that you see on our banner was created by Paul Conrad, a three-time Pulitzer Prize-winning political cartoonist who lived here on the peninsula at that time. And over the past 73 years since our founding, our members have been called upon to respond to political challenges locally and nationally, and obviously, we all know we're facing some huge challenges today. Election day last year felt like a nightmare. When the results came in, many of us were shocked, we were horrified, we were fearful, we were depressed, we were angry. To me, it felt like losing a loved one. Many of us went through stages of grief like we lost a loved one. Well, the morning after the election, when my wife and I got up, we didn't talk about it. Didn't even speak of what happened the night before. And after a little bit, my wife, Erin, who's with us tonight, she went out in our backyard, and I thought she wanted to be alone for a while. So I left her alone. And after a bit, I went to check on her, and I saw that she was pruning a bush in our yard. And Erin kept trimming it and trimming it and trimming it, and I didn't say a word because she had pruning shears. And by the time she was finished, that plant was down to a nub. I thought it was a goner. That's how Erin dealt with her anger, by taking it out on that bush. And I'm sure everyone here had a story about how they dealt with their anger. The next stage of grief that many of us went through was blame. How did we lose? Why did we lose? And who should we blame? And this phase is necessary and constructive. We needed to analyze how we lost to Trump. What mistakes did we make as a party to allow him to return to power? And what can we do to correct it next time? And in my opinion, we lost because we tried to convince Americans that everything was fine. We lost because we tried to convince the average person that the economy had recovered and was much better. And many Americans rejected that message because it did not translate into what they were facing and when they were paying bills at their kitchen table. And as our party tried to communicate that message, many Americans stopped listening. Many chose to believe the hate and the lies spewed by Trump. And many stayed home and didn't vote at all. This is what I think happened. But unfortunately, many Democrats are still in that blame stage of grief. Blaming our leaders, blaming our party, blaming the Democrats. But we must ask ourselves, who are the Democrats? I think the answer is we are the Democrats. We are the party. And I think it's time to say enough of the blame. We know what went wrong. We know why we lost. What are we going to do about it? And we have some great leaders. Many are here to speak to you tonight, but our leaders cannot do it alone. No one is going to ride in on a white horse and save us. It is up to us to save ourselves. And without us, our leaders will be ineffective. And our club and our country, we've been through these challenges before. Previous generations of Democrats have faced huge challenges and fought back, combating slavery in the Civil War, women's suffrage, civil rights, Watergate, marriage equality, and many other challenges. And when those before us faced those challenges, they realized that although they made progress, the battle is never over. Just like prior generations of Democrats, this is our battle. And we have a great message if we reach out and communicate it. We are the party of empathy, compassion, love, inclusiveness, tolerance, and supporting our brothers and sisters. They are the party of hate, anger, racism, division. We are the party that supports freedom for all Americans, civil rights, women's rights, reproductive rights, and marriage equality. They oppose all of that and are trying to destroy it. We are the party that supports health insurance for all, gun safety, humane immigration, protecting our environment on our planet, and having an economy that works for the average American, not trillion-dollar tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. And the good news is when asked, most Americans agree with us and support our democratic policies and values. This battle is winnable. In the last election, there was a group of voters that outnumbered the number of votes that Trump and Harris received. The biggest block of voters were Americans that did not register or did not vote. So that is our challenge. We do not need to convince MAGA voters to vote for our candidates. We just need to reach out to that huge block of voters that didn't participate. Another statistic, it's been historically proven all over the world that when 3.5% of citizens are protesting, an authoritarian regime cannot survive. So ladies and gentlemen, fellow Democrats, we need to share our message with the American people. We need them to really believe that there is something they can do. They cannot just say that one person can't do anything, because all of us really can make a difference. If you're not a member of a Democratic club or organization, I urge you to join one. If you belong to an organization, volunteer. If you hear about a rally or protest, attend. If you're asked to make phone calls, make those calls. And all of us need to reach out to our family, friends, and neighbors and tell them our message, tell them our story, get them involved. Our leaders cannot do this alone, and each of us as individuals cannot fix this alone, but each of us can cause a ripple. One of my childhood idols said this more eloquently than I could nearly 60 years ago. Robert F. Kennedy Sr. said in 1966, and I quote, "Each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring those ripples, build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression." Yes, fellow Democrats, each of us is a ripple. And if we do our part, that ripple will become a wave, and that wave will be bright blue. Remember that bush that Aaron pruned the day after the election? Well, a few days after her angry pruning attack, she watered that plant. She then fertilized that plant. She cultivated the ground around that plant, and that plant slowly started to grow back. And today it's flourishing and looks better now than ever before. We are coming back, Democrats, one ripple at a time, and if all of us do our part, that ripple will become a blue wave, and we will win. Thank you for coming today, Democrats. Thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce some of our guest speakers that are here today. Our first speaker is Dr. Zoe Uno, President and Trustee for the Palos Verdes Library District. With MAGA trying to ban books, our schools and our libraries are under attack. And these attacks are part of the authoritarian agenda. We're fortunate to have Dr. Uno as a defender of intellectual freedom. Dr. Uno, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome, and I feel so fortunate to be able to go after our Tim, right? Because he fired you all up. It's very inspirational. And yes, I am the board president. I want to thank everyone who voted for me for my second term. And we in the library are committed to making sure that everyone has access to the information that they want and need. We strive to be an inclusive organization, again, making sure that everyone has what they need access to. And I want to encourage you, 2026, we'll have 3 seats open. And I hear from lots of people how much they love the library. We need to make sure that our voices are heard and represented. So if you are at all considering running for something, consider running for the board in 2026 to make sure that we have a strong voice there and are able to continue to protect people's right to read. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Although we were disappointed with the presidential election results last night, our club members worked hard on 2 local races for city council, and Democrats won both seats. Our next speaker is Rancho Palos Verdes City Council member George Lewis, who is convinced to run for office for the first time last year, and he won his seat and represents our democratic values on the council. Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, Tim. Hi, everybody. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be here, especially given that I'm from RPV, which represents just 25% of our stated membership, which would give 75% of you a perfectly legitimate reason to not care what I think. I could accept that. It's a reasonable position. So I'll keep my remarks brief because I know we have a ton of great speakers coming after me that have a lot of great messages to share. I came to you a year ago. My first really public event was to be at this picnic a year ago as a nervous, rookie, deer in the headlights newbie. I think I still am a little bit of that, but when I ran on 4 planks. I ran on fiscal responsibility for the city of RPV, I ran on public safety, I ran on the environment, and I ran on anti-densification measures. So those are the 4 things I ran on. I think it's worthwhile to come back 6 months into the job and a year since that speech to see whether we've done a good job on that or not. And I think in RPV we have. We've resisted densification measures to the best of our ability. There hasn't been a lot of opportunity to do much financially apart from mitigating the landslide, but I do believe there'll be environmental opportunities to come. The public safety is in excellent position. The city is still ranked amongst the top few municipalities in the state in safety, so our LA Sheriff's Department is continuing to do an excellent job. And the fiscal side is really challenging. And so my last message today is I want to hear from you people. I've not been doing this long enough to have developed any ego to think that I have the answers. I represent you. So those of you from RPV, if you think I suck, please come tell me I suck. That's actually useful feedback, and I'd like to know why. And if you think I'm doing a good job, come and tell me that too, because I'm here to represent you. I care what you think. Thank you for having me. I'll yield to the rest of the... And a special thanks to Connie and all the membership and the leadership of this club, who's been great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Congressman. Another success story is our next speaker, Derek Lazaro, who was elected to a seat on the Palos Verdes Estates City Council. Councilmember Lazaro previously served for 8 years as chair and commissioner of the Palos Verdes Estates Planning Commission. Councilmember?
All right, well, thank you. This is actually my first time attending this event, so I'm very happy to be here. And I want to thank Connie Sullivan and other members of the team here who supported me as I was running for City Council in PVE. As far as I know, I am the first and maybe the only candidate to run as a Democrat in PVE, even though it is a nonpartisan election. But hopefully it's the start of a trend. I really think that we could use more Democrats on the PVE City Council. I'd like to take this opportunity to just say 2 words about the number one issue that PV residents raise to me, and that's the issue of housing density. And you know, I'll speak plainly on this particular issue because I think it's a critical one for Democrats in California to get right, not only in PV in the South Bay, but really across the whole state. I don't believe that there is a way to develop our way out of the housing affordability problem. There is too much demand and there will never be enough supply, no matter how many housing units we build. But what we can do is we can overdevelop to the point that we pave over all of our parks and all of our open spaces. And we can run out of water, and we can damage the environment even more than it's already been damaged. And we can create traffic and overcrowding problems that are even worse than they already are. And so I think that it's really important for all of us to consider that. And I think that unfortunately, most of the debate about housing affordability and building has really been dominated over the last decade or so by a handful of ideologues who are in either San Francisco or Sacramento, folks like Scott Wiener, who haven't left room for the rest of us to have a voice. They haven't wanted a true debate on these issues. They haven't wanted to embrace the nuance that I think is necessary to get this issue right. So, you know, I don't claim to have all of the answers on this issue, but I really do hope that for the future of the Democratic Party, for the future of our state, for the environment, that we're able to engage on this issue going forward, and we're able to have a more nuanced conversation about it. So that's really all I wanted to say. The only other thing I'll add that's specific to PVE is we have our Measure E, which is our funding for our police department expiring. Whoops, there goes my notes. Expiring here in 2027. We're trying to get ready to replace that, and if we don't, we're going to have a real local financial crisis. So if you hear anything about the replacement for Measure E, please do pay attention. It is absolutely vital to public safety within Palos Verdes Estates. Thank you.
I'm sure that most of you are aware that our Assembly member is termed out in 2026, and he is running for statewide office. Therefore, for the first time in 12 years, we have an open Assembly seat. 4 candidates are running for the open seat, and 3 of them are with us today. One, unfortunately, was out of town. And I believe Shannon Ross is here. She is our next speaker. If you start making your way this way, Shannon, I'll introduce you. Shannon Ross was born in Harbor City, and she was raised in the South Bay and has been a Democratic Party activist for many years. Shannon serves on the Los Angeles County Beach Commission, has been a member of the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council for over 10 years, and a delegate to the California Democratic Party. We are pleased to have one of the candidates for State Assembly with us today, Shannon Ross. I put you on right away too. Thank you. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you all. It's so great to be here today. What a beautiful day for everyone to come together to celebrate our values and to remember why we fight. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Shannon Ross. I'm the president of the San Pedro Democratic Club, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, a mom, a proud union wife, and someone who's been organizing in my community since I was young. I was born in Harbor City and raised in the South Bay, and like many in our communities, I have felt firsthand what it's like to worry about rent, rising costs, and whether our kids will inherit a coastline that's still clean, safe, and thriving. This is home, and I fight for it every day. As a young mom, I worked 2 jobs and relied on public services to feed my children. That's what the Democratic Party meant to me, a lifeline. Since then, I also learned it means standing up for working people, protecting the most vulnerable, and making sure no one gets left behind. Let's be honest, these are not normal times. People are being grabbed off the streets by strangers in masks, and somehow we are the ones being called anti-law and order. This is Los Angeles. We are a community of immigrants, of workers, dreamers, and we are stronger because of it. But every day we are watching an administration that leads us with fear and cruelty. We can't afford to sit this out. We can't play small or stay quiet. The stakes are too high, and people are counting on us to fight with everything we've got. That's why I decided to take my own advice and run for the state assembly here in the 66th district. From organizing in our community for food drives to coastal cleanups, I've done work here on the ground in our neighborhoods. I'm not afraid of the hard stuff because I lived it. And I believe we need leaders who don't just talk, but who actually show up and listen, who roll up their sleeves alongside their neighbors. Let's keep showing up, let's keep standing up, and let's keep fighting for our families, our neighborhoods, and our future. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Shannon. Our next speaker, also running for the assembly seat, is Scott Houston. Scott grew up in our local assembly district, attended local schools, and lived in El Segundo for the past 24 years after attending Michigan Tech and UCLA. Scott is a public relations professional, and for over 10 years, he served as a director and is the immediate past president of the West Basin Municipal Water District. Scott has served on various public boards and commissions, nonprofit boards, and LGBTQ plus foundations. It's my pleasure to introduce Scott Houston.
All right. Hello, Palos Verdes Democrats. Come on, give it a big round of applause. Wake up, everybody. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much, Tim, for having us all here. Yes, I'm Scott Houston. I've served on our water board for over 10 plus years. And you know what? I don't have to tell you, Tim laid it out very well. We are literally under attack by our federal government. President Trump and his administration are decimating many things, but one of the things that's dear to my heart is our EPA. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, he's also decimating the Bureau of Land Management and the Department of Interior. And these are major programs that help us in the water world ensure we have good, safe, clean water to our western United States. So we have got to make sure that we are not letting those people be forgotten who help us manage those resources. As was mentioned, you know what, I grew up in a working class family. My dad was a construction worker. My mom was a teacher. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I practically helped raise my little brothers, by the way. I'm a longtime Democratic activist, a longtime delegate to the party in our different jurisdictions, and as a matter of fact, once I was a Democrat of the Year for the LA County Democratic Party. But with that being said, I happen to be the only openly gay elected official in the South Bay, and I can't believe that. We need more of our LGBTQ plus folks in office. We need them at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. I have more than 10 years of service. Thank you, please, thank you. You know, a lot of us, we cut our teeth in local activism and politics when we weren't welcome. As a matter of fact, when I first was running for office and it was in the city of El Segundo, the gay bashing was terrible. It was horrible. But guess what? That didn't stop me. I continue to get up and stand up, and not only am I elected to office, but I try to bring others in. I try to make sure that we live by what Harvey Milk told us. We're here to recruit you. We're here to bring you into service and into positions of authority representing our communities. And it's not just LGBTQ plus people, it's everyone, right? So real briefly, you know what, I've been on our water district board for 10 years. I've dealt with major droughts. I've dealt with the global pandemic. I've dealt with landslides down here, yes, in Rancho Palos Verdes, but also up in Topanga Canyon, where we also serve. And we've been dealing with major wildfires. As a matter of fact, we've brought millions of dollars into this district, including working with our Congress members Both Ted Lieu and Maxine Waters have been incredible partners with the Water District, bringing tens of millions of dollars to us. We're actually building a recycled water pipeline right now to the Palos Verdes Golf Club. That will be the first recycled water, drop of recycled water that we're going to bring up here to the Palos Verdes Peninsula. We're very, very proud of that. And so, thank you. And so one other thing I'll just say very, very quickly. You know, I've been very blessed on our water board. I've made sure that we support labor. We support project labor agreements. I have been a strong advocate of our labor brothers and sisters. As a matter of fact, there's an organization called AFSCME 1902. Those are our metropolitan workers. And during the pandemic, something was brought to light most of us did not know about. It was bullying and harassment and sexual discrimination going on, especially in our far-flung plants out in the desert communities. And I was the only elected director in this region to stand up for our workers. We called for a state audit. We got resolutions passed in a number of the cities in this county, and even our board of supervisors. We got a resolution passed calling for a state audit while the Metropolitan Water District was kicking and screaming not to do it. But guess what? We got it accomplished. And I stood up for those workers, and they stand up for me. So I'll just say, as I go forward in this campaign, I've got strong labor support behind me. The most local elected officials are already endorsing me, and I'm looking forward to having conversations with you all, to learning from you all, to hearing your ideas, your concerns, but we've got to think about the future. Where is the state of California going? And one last thing, Tim laid it out very, very well. Where is our Democratic Party going? People are angry and upset right now, especially those of us who are running for office, and we're hearing it. There's a lot of people disenfranchised with both sides. So we've got to make sure, how do we fill that gap? How do we move this state forward? I'm really looking forward to being a representative in Sacramento. So again, think about me, Scott Houston, running for 8066. Thank you.
Our next candidate for the State Assembly seat is Paul Seo. Paul was born in Harbor City, and his family moved from Lomita to Gardena before settling in Torrance. Paul went to the United States Military Academy at West Point, served in active duty in the U.S. Army, and then earned a law degree at Loyola Law School. Paul is a Deputy Attorney General and serves as the Mayor Pro Tem of Rancho, Palos Verdes. Paul, thanks for joining us today.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible because I know you guys are listening to a lot of folks, but what I wanted to say today was just to tell you a little bit about myself and my family, and I think it's very important that you guys understand where I come from. My dad came to the States years ago from South Korea. I'm a proud son of Korean immigrants. They came to Chicago, Illinois, and ended up in Rockford, eventually came out west, and my dad was an electrician, and the reason why he came out here was because he found opportunity at Todd Shipyard in San Pedro. From that and the union job that he had, he was able to get a severance and open up a small business that he ran for 36 years. But before all that, when he started the business, he ran into trauma and just terrible situations. One of the incidents was when he first opened up, he took a bullet in his shoulder that almost killed him from gang violence. That was the first incident. 3-4 years later, the 92 riots happened and burned down the store. And he was able to rebuild, but one thing that he always said to me was, he said that every day that those riots were happening, not one single elected official or organization that came and checked up on him. That broke my heart. And what he told me was, if you're ever in that position, make sure you give people like me a voice. Make sure you fight for them, and you make sure that you become somebody this country needs. So I took that to heart. That's why I went to West Point. That's why I served in the Army. And after serving in the Army, I knew I wanted to dedicate myself to public service, so I came out and became a DA. And now I fight every day for Californians as a Deputy Attorney General, fighting against corporate fraud, political corruption. I prosecuted the oil company that messed up the shoreline at Huntington Beach not too long ago, so I understand what it means to fight for Californians. Now, currently here on the peninsula in Palos Verdes, in Rancho Palos Verdes specifically, I have the privilege of serving as Mayor Pro Tem. So I currently govern in real time, so I understand what that means. I understand what it means to fight every day for the people that you love. Now, that being said, I'm the only candidate in this race that has municipal leadership experience. I govern in real time and dealing with the things that actually affect the quality of life, the issues that we care about, from housing to affordability to public safety to climate change. We deal with those every day, trying to find solutions for that. Now, what I want to tell you guys is this. I want to take those priorities and take them to Sacramento and make sure we prioritize and actually keep fighting for them fighting for those things, because I don't just talk about policy, I actually execute. I actually get things done, build coalitions, and make sure that we bring results back to here in California as well as RAD. It's very important that we do that. Now, my campaign is about real results, real leadership experience, and real-time execution of things that we should be doing. You guys deserve the best. You guys deserve the best representation. So going forward, I hope that you'll support me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, that was quite an opportunity. We had 3 of the 4 candidates that are running in our assembly district. And usually, we don't have this opportunity where it's an open seat. Usually it's an incumbent running. And so you got to hear from 3 today. And Sarah Dean, who is out of town and couldn't make it today, will certainly appear before us at a future club meeting. So thank you again to the 3 candidates that joined us. If Democrats are going to win, we must reach out to young people. We thought it was important to have a young activist on our program today, and Giovanni Chavez is president of the California Young Democrats. He's been an officer with the Young Democrats for over 8 years, president for over 2 years, and he's also an executive board member with the California Democratic Party, and he's going to speak to us for a couple of minutes today. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Democrats. How are we doing? I just got back from Philadelphia, where we came back from our Young Democrats of America convention, and I want to say unequivocally that Young Democrats are fired up for the 2026 midterms. I think we've all seen the headlines, right? We've all seen the anti-democracy rhetoric from Donald Trump and his actions as well. We've seen how he's targeted political opponents, how he's dismantled federal agencies. We've seen this behavior, how he's deployed the Marines here in California and here in Los Angeles. But what I really want to emphasize is this new era of politics we're entering. Young folks are facing it every single day. And a lot of middle-class folks are facing it every day. We're entering this age of affordability, where every day a lot of folks feel it in their pocketbooks. They're seeing their housing prices go up. They're seeing their groceries go up. And on top of that, we're facing an unsustainable reality where we're facing generational climate change issues, crippling student debt loans, and the list goes on and on. And I'm confident that as Democrats, we can tackle on these challenges because we have tackled on generational challenges before. Let us not forget, we're the party of the New Deal. We're the party of Social Security. We're the party of Medicaid. We're the party of Medicare. We're the party of the Inflation Reduction Act. Each and every time that we face a tough challenge, it is Democrats that stand up to the plate and tackle on these challenges. And while Donald Trump is out there playing around and taking 180s on the Epstein files, Democrats are the ones proposing real solutions to real problems. And as the California Young Democrats, we're doing our part as well. We're hosting trainings all across the state because if we really want to flip these seats in 2026, the work starts now. We have to recruit new young people, and we also have to think outside the box. Donald Trump really used digital platforms to target Republicans in the past elections. 9 out of 10 of the top podcasts were Republican leaning. So as Young Democrats, we're teaming up with content creators. We're doing social media targeting trainings all across the state to make sure that our young folks are prepared for 2026 and beyond. So folks, are we ready to get to work? Let's do this and let's win the 2026 midterms. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jeff Prang. He's the Los Angeles County Assessor. He was raised in Warren, Michigan. The assessor is a graduate of James Madison College of Michigan State University. After graduation, he relocated to California, where he served nearly 18 years as a council member for the city of West Hollywood, including 4 terms as mayor. Thank you for joining us today.
There we are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. After that rousing speech from the president of the California Young Democrats, I'm going to try to liven it up with in a way that can only be delivered by the county property tax assessor. So I don't know that I can offer quite as many uplifting messages as we heard from some of the other candidates, but I will say I am up for re-election next year, and the other people who are running, they're no good. But I just want to tell you a couple things that I've been doing and why I think that hopefully I can earn your support next year. The first thing is, when I ran in 2014 for the first time, I promised to invest in upgrading our technology. When I was elected, I inherited this ancient legacy technology system. It was a mainframe, green screen, DOS-based system. All 2.5 million property files in LA County were still associated with a paper file. So over the last 10 years, we've invested over $100 million in upgrading our technology from a mainframe system to a cloud-based system. All of our files have now been digitized. And get this is, I was probably only a way a policy wonk can get excited. Our new system, we used this year to close the assessment roll, which ended on June 30th. The efficiencies from this new system saved me 45,000 personnel hours. What that meant is that in the wake of the fires in Palisades and Eaton, we lost a lot of property tax revenue. Lots of properties were damaged. About a $200 million hit to local government due to the loss in the fire. But because of those 45,000 hours we saved in efficiencies, I was able to use those hours to handle some of our structural backlogs, which meant within this period of time, we were actually able to recoup all the lost revenues that we lost from the fire because of better efficiencies from an investment in technology. Sometimes it's kind of hard to connect what we do and how that affects local government. But the truth is, no government agency can do their job until I've done mine. If I don't do my job well and efficiently, then city councils, school boards, and the county are left without money that they need to do their important work. Just a couple things in closing. I'm here to offer you some helpful tips. So one, if you own a home in LA County, you probably qualify for the homeowner's exemption, but about almost half the property owners in the county don't sign up for the homeowner's exemption, primarily because they don't know about it. So if you don't know if you have the homeowner's exemption, go to our website, type in your address to see if you have it. If you don't, sign up for it, and we'll save you a little bit of money every year on your property taxes. The second thing that I want to leave behind is you're all probably familiar that in recent years, there's a lot of incidents of title fraud. People come in, they change the title on your property, then before you know it, they've secured loans or other types of finances against it. I have a new program that you can now go on our website. It's assessor.lacounty.gov. You can register your email address with your property, and anytime something's recorded on your property, such as a grant deed or a deed of trust, you will get an email notification within 48 hours. And so if somebody's attempting to commit fraud against you, you'll know about it, you can take action. If you don't sign up, the first notification you're going to get is a letter from the registrar recorder, but that's not going to come for 30 or 45 days. So the scammers are going to take a lot of advantage of you during that amount of time. So homeowner's exemption, save money. Homeowner alert, protect your property. Thank you very much. It's great to be here with the Devons today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Our next speaker is Nichelle Henderson. Nichelle received a bachelor's degree in liberal studies from Cal State University, Los Angeles, and a master's degree in education with an emphasis in elementary teaching from Chapman University. Nichelle is an educator, a union leader with the California Faculty Association, and a candidate for statewide superintendent of public instruction. She has 30 years of experience as a teacher. She began her career in the LA Unified School District before becoming a teaching assistant, later a 6th grade math and science teacher in Compton Unified. Today, she also serves as a faculty advisor at Fresno State and serves on the Los Angeles Community College District Board. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, PV Democrats. I was just telling Tim that he took most of what I was going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I want to give myself a shameful plug. So I serve on I am the immediate past president of the LA County Quality and Productivity Commission. And many of the projects that Assessor Prang discussed, my commission helped to fund. So I am really proud of the work that he's doing within the county. My name is Nichelle Henderson. I'm a trustee on the Los Angeles Community College Board, immediate past president. I am a lifelong Democrat. I was elected to the LA County Democratic Party Central Committee in 2016, and I am currently a state party delegate and executive board member. So I just have a question. How many of you are teachers? By show of hand, how many here are teachers or know a teacher? So you will understand why it is so important to know about the candidates and the issues around the state superintendent of public instruction race. I am a teacher, a lifelong educator. I'm running to be the next state superintendent of public instruction because I have 30 years of experience in education. I started off as a parent volunteer. I became a classroom aide. I've been a classroom teacher. I taught 6th grade at Enterprise Middle School in Compton, 6th grade math and science. And I believe that my education and my professional experience have prepared me for this role, in addition to serving as a trustee on the Community College Board. Most importantly, I believe that all California students deserve an access point to educational programming that promotes sustainable pathways to positive academic outcomes through teacher supports, transitional kindergarten, dual enrollment for middle and high school students, and increased economic opportunities through workforce training programs. Out of 28 California state superintendents, only one has had a background in K-12 education, and only one has identified as a female. And with Voldemort, I mean, he who shall not be named, in the White House, literally dismantling public education in real time, it is time that we elect a teacher, someone with real, relevant classroom, school experience to be the superintendent of public instruction for the state of California. I unapologetically center diversity, equity, and inclusion in all that I do. As state superintendent, I would serve on state boards and commissions that directly influence public education policy. I will be working collaboratively to improve K-12 literacy rates across all academic disciplines. And I will continue to be an advocate for education and promote hope for the future of education. I am Nichelle Henderson, and if you want to see improvements in public education across our great state, join our grassroots movement by following my campaign at Henderson, the number 4, CA Superintendent. If you want to visit my website, iad.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, our next speaker is Chris Kluwe. Chris is a former player from the National Football League, and he's an activist. He played college football. I'll say I'm biased because this is where I did my undergrad and graduate school, at UCLA, before playing as a punter in the NFL. And I know my wife's family is all Trojans, so he was an activist when playing in the NFL and continued his activism following his football career. He's now attacking the MAGA agenda by the Huntington Beach City Council, and I don't know if he's prepared to announce tonight, but I hear a rumor that he may be seeking an assembly seat in district number 72. I maybe just let the cat out of the bag, but I'll let Chris speak to that. Our next speaker, Chris Kluwe.
Sorry, give me a sec. I got to adjust the mic. All right, how's everyone doing? Yay! We actually got some noise this time. Thank you so much for having me here. As Tim said, I am a former Minnesota Vikings player. I am a guy you probably saw get arrested on TikTok, or if you didn't see it, your kids probably saw it. And I'm here because at the time when I spoke out against the MAGA agenda at Huntington Beach and then was willing to put my body where my words were, I did not see that from any of my elected Democratic officials, and that's what I had been waiting for. We are the party of good trouble, right? We are the party of John Lewis, of doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Not because it's popular, not because it polls well, but because it is the right thing to do. And so that's what I've been expecting from my elected officials. Thankfully, we're starting to see some of that action, but we need to see more. And that's one of the things that I have been talking about in all of the speaking appearances I've been at over the past couple months, is that we need to do more. We need our elected officials to do more. We need to show up at protests. We need to show up at canvassing and phone banking, even if you don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I didn't want to get arrested. I would rather sit at home playing video games because that's who I am. But our country is in a stage right now where we need everyone to show up. This is no longer a right versus left battle. This is, are we going to be America or are we going to be something else? And I don't know about you guys, but I would rather be America than whatever it is Trump is trying to turn us into, because that's not a good place. And so, to that extent, we need to ask our elected officials to do more. We need them to be the ones putting their bodies on the line. We need them showing up at our congressional buildings and saying, no, Doge, you do not get to come in and steal everyone's information. It is our job to know what you are doing. And right now they are abdicating that responsibility. We need them to do their jobs. And then we also need to understand that those who do, we need to support them. They are our leaders, they need to lead, but then we also need to help them. But the other thing we have to remember is it can't be a sprint, right? This is a marathon. This isn't going to be we're going to fix everything all at once. You also have to take breaks. You have to give yourself time to recharge. You have to get your batteries back so then you can go back to the protest. You can go back to making phone calls. You can go back to canvassing. It is okay to find joy in the face of fascism, because if you let them think that all there is in the world is hate, then they have already won. So being joyful in the face of fascists is a form of resistance, and don't be afraid to do that. So I really hope all of you keep fighting the fight, because this is going to take us a long time to fix things, right? It's not going to be any one single event. It's not going to be a guy getting arrested in front of the Huntington Beach City Council that then fixes everything. Like that's a part of it, but it's a very small part. It's not going to be one protest on, the street corners or at the pier. That's a part of it, but it's a small part. It's going to take all of us, and we have to understand that we are in this together, right? We can go back to arguing with each other once we save our democracy, but for right now, we need to save our democracy. So thank you so much for having me. I will be running for District 72. I haven't officially announced yet, but if you know people there, please tell them to vote for me. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you, everyone.
All right, very important announcement. The ice cream truck is wrapping up, so if you want an ice cream, you got to get over there pretty quick. I want to thank our board member, and Chris is a lot taller than me, so I'll move it back down. Our board member and Los Angeles County Democratic Party Associate John Munoz for reaching out and securing our next speaker. We're honored tonight to have one of the candidates that's running for governor. Antonio Villaraigosa grew up on the east side of Los Angeles. He graduated from UCLA and obtained a law degree. Antonio then worked as a field representative and organizer for the United Teachers of Los Angeles, and at that time I had the privilege of serving with Antonio as a delegate to the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor when I represented the electricians and technicians at the Hollywood IBEW local union. In 1994, he was elected to the California State Assembly, where he served for several years, and then he was the Democratic Majority Leader and then Speaker of the California State Assembly. In 2005, Antonio was elected as the 41st Mayor of the City of Los Angeles, where he served 2 terms, and now he's running for governor. I read a recent Sacramento political publication because I'm a political nerd, and one of the things that it said at the end of the article is, one thing never to do is to count Antonio out. Antonio is having a little issues with his voice tonight, so he asked former Assemblymember Mike Gatto to speak and finish his introduction. So, Mike.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Gatto, and for those of you who don't know me, I represented Los Angeles, Glendale, and Burbank in the California legislature for 7 years. But as my family grew, we moved down here to Palos Verdes, and I rode my bike here tonight because I have the distinct honor of being the pseudo-surrogate for Antonio tonight, who had surgery just a couple days ago on his vocal cords, but it still meant so much to him to come here tonight to speak to all of you that I'm going to try to get out the first words for him, and he'll get out some last words if he can. The most important part of Tim's speech that he said in the introduction was talking about how we win. That is everything, folks. And I believe I can sum up how we win in 2 words. We need to have leaders who are inspiring. We need to have leaders who are authentic. The other side, they've got somebody who inspires their base, right? And in his own weird diarrhea of the mouth way, he's authentic. We need leaders who can articulate our vision in an authentic way. Now, folks, I've been in politics for 33 years. I started walking precincts and stuffing envelopes when I was just a young lad. And sometimes I get jaded, and I know some of you do too. But folks, I can tell you, Antonio Villaraigosa inspires even me. He inspires even me. When he led the legislature, when he was mayor of Los Angeles, he spoke up, and he spoke up early on issues that mean so much to our core values. I'm talking tolerance, I'm talking the environment, I'm talking rights for workers. And more importantly, he moved the needle. And he moved the needle because he is that one word. He is inspiring. I can think of no one better to lead the state right now. No one better to be a counter to that guy in the White House than the man that I have the pleasure of introducing. And that is the next governor of the state of California, the one, the only, Antonio Villaraigosa.
You know, when you get a nice, apologize, I think they explained I had a recent procedure on my vocal cords, getting them ready. Let me just say, it's great to be here in Palos Verdes. It's great to be here with all of you. Tim, thank you for that introduction. Mike, you too. 2 great people. Met 30 years ago, fighting for working people. And I fought for working people my entire life. I first got involved with the farm workers at 15 years old. I was part of the Black Student Union at 15 years old, the United Mexican American Students. I was a community activist for 25 years before I got elected, a labor leader for 15. But I'll tell you something. A few of the speakers, Tim said it pretty well. You know, look, we're losing the middle. And when you lose the middle, you lose elections. And so one of the things I'm running on is common sense, competence, and of course, correction. Affordability, maybe not for everyone, but for a whole lot of people in our party and in this state, affordability is important. They can't afford to buy a home because we have the highest home prices in the United States of America. It's getting harder and harder to buy gas because we have the highest gas prices in the United States of America. The second highest utility costs in the United States of America that have gone up 60%. So I'm running as a proven problem solver. When I walked up to a couple of you, they said, "Oh, I know you." And one of them said, and then I repeated, said, "You were mayor when LA was safe and clean." Well, when I was speaker, all of the progressive legislation that came out in the 1990s came out under my speakership. Gay and lesbian civil rights, largest expansion of health care, healthy families, toughest assault weapons ban, smart gun legislation. When I was mayor, 60% increase in the graduation rate. Yes, 60% increase in the graduation rate. Went from 1 out of 3 failing schools to 1 out of 10. a 50%, nearly 50% drop in violent crime. LA went from one of the most violent big cities in America to one of the safest. Number 1 American city in reducing carbon emissions, number 5 in the world, and built more infrastructure than anybody in the United States of America, which is why the governor made me the infrastructure czar. But I'm not running on the past. I'm running on the future. And Giovanni inspired me today because he talked about what young people care about. They care about that they can't buy a home the way their kids and the way their parents and their grandparents could a generation ago. They're worried about the cost of tuition. They're worried about the cost of whether a college education makes sense when it costs so much. And so I'm running on a platform of course correction, but importantly, I think, and especially right now, we need uniters. If you saw me those 8 years as mayor, I was in every community. I was in the North Valley where I didn't get a vote initially. I was in South LA. I was on the east side and the west side. I was in every community. We need leaders that can unite us. Yes, even talk to the other side. But if you're looking for someone who could fight him, who better to do it than a former civil rights leader, a former labor leader, someone who's always stood up for civil rights and human rights. So I want to thank you for having me today. I tried to shake hands, and I did shake hands with virtually all of you except for this group here and that group there, because I didn't want to interrupt the speakers. So good to see you. Thank you so much. I'm going to rest my voice. I'd be honored to have your support as I make this run for governor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker doesn't need an introduction, but it's our Assemblymember, Al Muratsuchi. Our Assemblymember received his bachelor's degree at UCLA and his law degree at Cal, University of California, Berkeley. He was a prosecutor at the California Department of Justice and served as a Deputy Attorney General. He also served as a trustee for the Torrance Unified School District. He was first elected to the State Assembly in 2012 and currently serves as the chair of the Assembly Education Committee. Now our Assemblymember is seeking statewide office, running for Superintendent of Public Instruction. Please welcome Assemblymember Al Muratsuchi.
All right, good evening, Democrats. It's so good to see longtime friends as well as new friends. Thank you very much, Tim, for inviting me to join all of you today. You know, I remember when the Palos Verdes Democratic Club first started this tradition of the picnic here at the church grounds. And, you know, I think it's 10 years. This year is the 10-year anniversary. And so it's really become not only a tradition, but a growing tradition, as you see from all the politicians coming out to seek your support. I'm Al Muratsuchi. I have the privilege of representing Palos Verdes in the South Bay in the California legislature. And yeah, I want to thank you, first of all, very much for the privilege of a lifetime. You know, I've had the privilege of representing the South Bay. This is my sixth and last term. You heard from some of the great candidates that we have to succeed myself to represent the South Bay. But, you know, I'm here with my daughter, Sophia. And, you know, a lot of people are coming up saying, oh, I remember you when you were, you know, and she was only 3 years old when I first ran for the State Assembly in 2012. And so time flies. Here we are. I want to continue my fight, especially for public education. You know, I've had the privilege of chairing the Assembly Education Committee for 4 years. Before that, I served on my local school board, the Torrance School Board, for 7 years. And lately, yeah, I've been serving as an adjunct faculty member at El Camino College, teaching government at El Camino College. And so I want to bring my experience as a classroom educator, as a local school board member, and now chair of the Assembly Education Committee to be your next state superintendent of public instruction. Now, I know that a lot of people, they say, state superintendent, what, is that an elected position? What do they do? Just top lines. State superintendent is the top education elected official for the state of California. And it's not just a matter of bringing teaching experience to the position. It's really a position that leads on statewide education policy, and especially now, in this time, it's a position that we need to fight the Trump administration and Donald Trump's attack on public education nationwide. We know that Donald Trump is attacking public education. We know that he is dismantling the United States Department of Education. Unfortunately, just last week, the United States Supreme Court upheld their efforts to fire the Department of Education employees, just shutting it down without authorization of Congress, getting around our Constitution to gut a standing state national department, the United States Department of Education. And what does that mean? I want to make sure that people understand, that the U.S. Department of Education is not just any bureaucracy. One of the main functions of the U.S. Department of Education is through their Office of Civil Rights, is to ensure that every child, regardless of who they are, where they live, what their zip code is, and especially for this position, whether they have any special needs, whether they are have any disabilities. That is one of the core functions of the United States Department of Education. So the students that are going to suffer the most from Donald Trump's attack on the U.S. Department of Education are our most vulnerable students. It's our students that we rely on the Department of Education to investigate and to enforce our anti-discrimination laws nationwide, including here in California, to ensure that all of our kids, regardless, again, of who they are, where they live, or what abilities or disabilities they may have, that they receive a free, quality public education. And that is the fight that I want to take on as your next state superintendent. My very first bill that I introduced this session, my last session, to fight Donald Trump, as soon as I learned that Donald Trump was going to be returning for his second term, was to introduce Assembly Bill 49, the California Safe Haven Schools Act, to keep ICE and immigration officials out of California public schools. We know that unfortunately, because of the fears of immigration enforcement activities, because of all the ICE raids that we've been seeing, on TV and in social media, school attendance for our California immigrant students have dramatically dropped. And, for decades, we had a bipartisan support, bipartisan agreement that schools should be off limits from things like immigration enforcement activities. We had a bipartisan agreement since 1982. The United States Supreme Court decided that under Plyler versus Doe, that kids, regardless of their immigration status, have a right to a public education. Notwithstanding that, Donald Trump, for the first time in decades, reversed that policy to start sending ICE agents into our public schools. I'm here to fight back against that. I'm here to fight for and defend all of our students, including our California immigrant students. Last year I worked with the LGBTQ community to introduce and to get signed into law the California Freedom to Read Act. And that was because there was a nationwide book banning movement that was not just targeting LGBTQ books, but all books that the book banners deemed to be too controversial to be included in our public schools, and as well as in our public libraries. And so I worked with the American Library Association, the California Library Association, to fight back, and I was very happy that the governor signed into law last year the California Freedom to Read Act, because we should be able to decide what books to read, not these MAGA activists that are getting more and more engaged in communities, not just across the country, but throughout the state of California. Last but not least, last year I was the lead author and I championed Proposition 2, the $10 billion statewide school bond to fix our most dilapidated schools, to provide matching funds to all school districts throughout the state, including Palos Verdes Unified. I know that Palos Verdes Unified was a big supporter of Proposition 2, and that was also a top priority. So those are just some of the many things that I want to continue to fight for you, for our communities. I'm proud that my daughter is going to a local public school, and as a parent, as an educator, as a former Torrance School Board member, and now as chair of the Assembly Education Committee, I want to take all of that experience to keep fighting for public education. Thank you very much. For more information, please go to my website, al4californiaschools.com. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Thank you, Assemblymember. All right. Our next speaker is our state senator, Ben Allen. Senator Allen received his bachelor's degree from Harvard, a master's degree from the University of Cambridge, and his law degree from the University of California, Berkeley. He served on the Santa Monica Malibu Board of Education from 2008 until his election to the California State Senate in 2014. He chairs the Senate Budget Subcommittee on Resources, Environmental Protection, and Energy, and co-chairs the legislature's Environmental Caucus. He authored nearly 60 new laws in various areas, from environmental protection, including combating climate change, to electoral reform. He's a member of the California Film Commission. He was part of the legislative effort, and we appreciate that so much, because in my prior career, representing electricians and technicians in the film industry for many years, his effort was to extend and expand the film and television credit program to further support and invest in one of our biggest industries in California, the California film industry. Please welcome our Senator, Ben Allen.
All right, so good to see everyone here. This is a wonderful, wonderful annual tradition, and it's so great to be here and be with so many friends during a very difficult time for our country, quite frankly. I think back to previous picnics when things seemed a little more rosy, and yet I guess this moment speaks to the importance of our organizing and speaks to the importance of our continuing to engage and not give up on our democracy and push back and continue to organize so that we can restore some sanity to our country in the next year to come. It's wonderful to be here, and it's also wonderful to be part of a democratic community here in California that enjoys the support of the public, though we certainly have some work to do to continue to enjoy the support of the public, but that's also standing up strong for American democratic values, for norms, and pushing back against all the madness that we've been seeing coming at us from Washington. Just the scenes of the mayhem in the streets that's being put together by the feds, the fact that they've now increased the ICE budget by as much as they have, the fact that they decided we have tons of money for tax cuts for massive corporations, but we're going to slash Medicaid, we're going to slash PBS and the NPR, we're going to slash all sorts of valuable climate and science-related programs. It's a pathetic show and a total lack of independence also from the Republicans in Congress, and watching the way that they've failed to stand up for their own institutional integrity vis-a-vis the executive branch is pretty extraordinary, given the previous position that they've had vis-a-vis the Obama administration and the Biden administration. I think about today's New York Times, the big article about inspectors general and general counsels, a lot of the independent inspectors that are part of our government to ensure credibility and integrity, audits, and those folks are really afraid to just do their jobs right now because of how much retribution seems to be the name of the game in Washington. There's only so much we can do here, but right now, but we're doing a lot. We've actually invested quite a bit of money in the Department of Justice. And the Attorney General, our state Attorney General, has been pushing back, filing lawsuit after lawsuit, and he's actually been winning in court a lot. Lots of temporary restraining orders, lots of overturning of various decisions by the Trump administration, putting our resources in our Department of Justice's credibility on the line to stand up for basic norms. And that's something that I'm really, I think we should all ought to be proud of, to be part of that broader effort. Now, of course, there's only so much that we can do on the legal side, that we're certainly spending a lot in that. We have to organize for next year. We've got to get good people elected. We've got to push, and we know that there's some really swing districts right here in the Southland. I hope we're all going to be spending some time in the Central Valley, in Orange County, and some of the districts that are nearby, so that we can win back the House. We're also, of course, trying to show a different example here in California. We're investing in our TV and film programs, for example, which is so important. I'm so proud that we were able to get that massive credit across the finish line. We knew that we didn't have to match the credits, the incentives that had been put forward by their jurisdictions, but we had to do something. We had to do something substantial. We doubled the size of the credit. We made it more workable. We worked hard with our partners from labor, our partners from the studios. We put in uplift for the musicians and independent productions. There's some additional support for outside of the 30-mile zone for Northern California and productions elsewhere in the state. But it was a really proud moment to see us all come together to stand up for a really critical industry for our region that we know needed a little bit of extra help. And so I'm proud that to have been such a big part of getting that effort through. Obviously, been working a lot on environmental issues, and Al, it's fun. The fun thing was your two reps actually did the two big bonds that were on the ballot this last go around. Al did the incredible work on the education bond. We're so happy that money's coming through, and we're finally going to get some good resources to help our kids, including, we were so happy about the bond passing here on the Hill. I remember last year we were all stressing out about that. Thank goodness. Thank you to the folks on the Hill here who worked so hard to get that bond passed. That is such an important gift to the young people of this wonderful community. Great kids living with decrepit conditions in their schools. They deserve so much better. And I just want to thank you and applaud you for getting that bond passed here on the Hill. So I was helping Al out on the education bond, he was helping me out on our big climate bond that we got passed as well. Prop 4, $10 billion for climate resiliency, fire and water, 30 by 30 biodiversity. We're going to land acquisition to make sure we preserve more of our land on a going forward basis. Working on sea level rise. And so those are some of the things that we were able to get done in this last budget cycle. I'm working, as you know, I care so much about environmental issues. I got a big bill that's going to be one of the strongest anti-PFAS bills in the nation. We're making great progress. We got it out of the Senate, and we're almost at the finish line on that. Working on a big bill to protect water rights. And I've just been in intense negotiations just 2 days ago. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about making sure that we can, the U.S. Supreme Court, with the Sackett decision a couple years ago, this conservative court rolled back all of the waters that were protected, many of the waters that were protected under the Clean Water Act. And so we're trying to restore the protections that existed before the Supreme Court decision to California waterways. And we're really close to getting that done. I'm really happy about that. Also, we just struck a deal on a major bill to protect automobile purchasers. One of the things that just stressed me out, I just purchased my own used EV, Mach-E Ford. It was a great car. But I'll tell you, when you go into the car buying process, you think you're buying a car for $30,000 and you seem to walk out of there, they want to sell it to you for $38,000, and there's all these add-ons and they keep telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that, and this is mandatory. My point is, look, you ought to only be able to put up the price of what the car actually costs. If it's a voluntary add-on, fine, add it on, but you can't claim to anyone that that's mandatory. You have to be upfront with people, clear with people, and you should only put the actual price of the car that the person will be walking out of the dealership having paid when they advertise the car. So we're getting that done as well. And then finally, fire issues. I represent the Palisades. I spent most of the morning up in a very intense meeting with homeowners up there. Those poor folks, all of our attention was on the fire in about a month after January 6th. But we all know that the folks have moved on. People thinking about the ICE raids or the latest Trump atrocity, worried about the budget, whatever it is. And these poor folks are without their homes, dealing with the insurance industry, trying to figure out how to rebuild. And so that's a lot of the work of our office has been just helping people through insurance claims. And I've got a whole slew of bills of lessons learned from the experience of representing that area to ensure that the insurance industry is more responsive to people, that you get more of the contents coverage covered when, so that you don't have to itemize every single item just to get a basic repayment after you've literally lost everything, and all you're trying to do is just get the insurance that you've been paying for years. We're working on tax relief for them and also giving them some more flexibility on calamity. We're working on trying to make sure that we give some additional rights to the folks in the mobile home parks that lost everything up there. And then we're just lots and lots of insurance issues, trying to, and spending a lot of time. We're gonna do a big event on insurance policy, and we starting to look into the future of insurance in the state and how we can make sure that it's more sustainable and truly more friendly for consumers. So it's, and by the way, all of this is going to help this wonderful region if unfortunately, God forbid anything bad were to happen. We're always so concerned about fire risk here. We're also really concerned about landslides, which of course has been a major issue up in the Palisades as well. So I'm going to be promoting a lot of dialogue between these two communities to ensure that we're learning from each other and building from each other. And then we're also taking some examples to turn into legislation that will be pro-consumer, pro-homeowner, that will help people in these kinds of difficult situations. So it continues to be a real honor to represent these wonderful communities in the legislature. I thank this club. I thank the wonderful democratic organizations that we have down here in the South Bay. I thank my great partner in crime, Muratsuchi, who's been such a great friend and partner in this effort. And I just thank you so much, and a very happy summer to everyone. Thank you.
All right, we made it. Our final speaker is our Congressman, Ted Lieu. Ted Lieu received 2 degrees from Stanford University and a law degree from Georgetown University. He served on active duty with the United States Air Force Judge Advocate General's Corps for 4 years, and then for 21 years in the Air Force Reserve. In 2002, he was elected to the Torrance City Council. In 2005, he was elected to the State Assembly, and in 2011, he was elected to the State Senate, and then in 2014, he was elected to Congress. Congressman Lieu is serving in his 6th term in Congress, currently sits on the House Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees. He was also re-elected by his colleagues to serve as vice chair of the Democratic Caucus, making him the highest-ranking Asian American to ever serve in House leadership. He is also a champion in trying to save our democracy, serving as an impeachment manager in Trump's first term, and although he is a gracious man, although he is a fair man, and although at times he seems a little mild-mannered, boy, when he gets going, he calls out corruption and injustice every day as a member of Congress. And I love seeing on TV every night when you're calling out Trump and their baloney. I'll tell you this, that we attended a fundraiser for Congressman Lieu, my wife and I, a few weeks ago. And it was such a joyful and gracious event, sharing our democratic values and talking with like-minded people, as this event today has been. But what I really enjoyed about the event is the event was not to support Congressman Lieu, it was to raise money for the key races next year so that we take back Congress in the midterm elections. So I'll tell you, it is my pleasure to introduce the best member of Congress, our Congressman, Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Tim, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for your leadership of the organization and for your leadership in the labor movement, and it's just such an honor to serve with you. And thank you to Connie for your leadership as well of this organization, and now you are President Emeritus, so thank you for everything that you have done. You all have great local and state elected officials. Thank you, Al Muratsuchi and Ben Allen, for your tremendous leadership as well, and for all the local elected officials here. My wife, Betty, is with me. She is on a Torrance School Board, and she's got the hardest job in elected politics as a school board member, so shout out to all the school board members who are here. I'm a recovering computer science major, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about artificial intelligence, and then I'm going to talk about why we're going to flip the house. It was only a little over 2.5 years ago that OpenAI shocked the world with the release of ChatGPT. And as you all know, that was a text-to-text platform, so you would ask this AI program a question, such as, why was the Battle of Midway so important in World War II? It'll give you this beautiful, grammatically correct answer that you then turn into your history professor. And in that short period of time, it's gone from text to text to now text to video, where you can basically create any video up to your imagination. You now have video to text, where it will analyze, a 12-hour video and tell you everything about it, and you can ask questions about what was in that video. You now have text to basic programming, where you can have these applications write basic software programs for you. And now we're entering what I call the era of AI agents. I wrote an op-ed in the LA Times a few weeks ago. So instead of these AI large language models just answering questions for you, they will go out into the world and do stuff. So Google has something called Project Mariner. ChatGPT just released ChatGPT Agent. So you can tell it, for example, to say, hey, in October from the 10th to the 15th, I want you to book me the cheapest hotel in Times Square in New York with my credit card. And it'll go ahead and do that. You can ask it to do all sorts of things in the real world. There is another application, actually multiple ones, where it will make phone calls for you in your voice or another voice and execute your commands. So I tried this with our younger son, Austin. I told this AI application, it's called Mitra, it's free, by the way, you can download it right now on your phone. And I said, call our son, Austin, and tell him he needs to go to sleep earlier. So I'm standing next to him just to see what would happen. So then he gets his phone call, and the AI program basically says, your dad wanted me to call you to let you know you should go to sleep earlier. And then unprompted, it says, why might you not be going to sleep earlier? And then Austin says, well, I play video games, and I stay up at night sometimes past my bedtime. And then the AI program says, oh, well, here are some recommendations for you as to how you can not play video games and go to sleep earlier. And they have this entire conversation. And then I get a text message back from the AI that says, called your son Austin, told him he needs to go sleep earlier. He said he plays video games, and I gave him these recommendations. And you can see how remarkable that is and how amazing this is, and you can see how it could completely go off the rails, right? How if this AI program used your voice and did bad things with it. Because what we know from these large language models is we're not exactly sure how they work at a very basic level, and these companies that make them have done these tests and audits and figured out they will do bad things. So for example, OpenAI did a test and said, hey, in one of their models, they were able to get it to do what they call strategic deception, which is basically do things that will not align with the user's intent. Anthropic, another major company, creates Claude, which is a large language model, and they got their model to essentially blackmail the user when they thought the user was going to shut the model off. So this is not great if it's writing you an essay about World War II, but if it's out in the world and doing things, right, it could empty your bank account. It could potentially report you to law enforcement and create a fake video of things that you didn't do. So my view now is we're at a critical point where we just need to do some laws and regulations on AI. I fought against the 10-year ban on AI from being regulated by states that the Republicans proposed in Congress. That failed, and so now there's more of an opportunity for Congress to get involved, as well as for states such as California to step up and regulate AI. because we're going to be in this situation where you've got a billion people walking around with AI agents doing stuff in the real world. And that to me is amazing and alarming at the same time. And we just need to put some guardrails on so that people are protected. So now I'm going to talk to you about why we're going to flip the House. 3 reasons. Number one, every modern president has lost the House in the midterms, except for George Bush, 9/11. So that was somewhat of a unique situation. But historically, it is really hard for the incumbent president to win the midterms. Second, well, and we got a particularly evil and awful president, as you all know. Second, the polling shows that we are on track to flip the House. So it turns out that in congressional elections, some of it, actually a lot of it, tracks how the president's approval rating is doing. And Trump's approval rating is at the lowest he's ever had. The AP reported that a few weeks ago he was at 60% disapproval, 39% approval, for a gap of about 21 points. You have other polls now having him anywhere between 55 to 60% disapproval. That is really pretty shockingly high, especially only 6 to 7 months into his term. In terms of the congressional generic ballot, a Republican pollster called RMG earlier this year had Democrats up +2. For context, last year it was about even. That was about what happened. Republicans slightly eked it out with a 3-seat majority. This same Republican pollster a few weeks ago released a new poll that showed Democrats up +8. And then you had another pollster called Atlas Intel, which was the most accurate pollster last term. It now has Democrats up +10. That is now blue wave territory. And so if the election were tomorrow, we'd flip the House. But it's not tomorrow, right? We need to sustain this. And with the upcoming elections in November, we've got New Jersey and Virginia. It is super important and super helpful if we could flip the Virginia governorship from red to blue, and if we could hold New Jersey's governorship and keep that blue. And polling in both states shows that our Democratic candidates are ahead, actually pretty far ahead in Virginia. And the third reason I'm going to flip the House is we have all of you. So at the end of the day, the 200-some Democrats in Congress, we're going to do everything we can to save democracy. James Madison in 1788 said, essentially, it is the virtue of the people that saves the democracy. So it's going to be the millions of people across America that rise up and engage. And whether it is going to marches or protests or town halls or rallies or donating or volunteering, all of that is super helpful. I thought the No Kings protest was enormously helpful, the largest protest in U.S. history. And all of this has an effect. You may not think it has an effect because when you hear the president speak, he just brags and blusters and so on, but it has an effect. So I'll give you one example. The administration brought back Kilmer Garcia. They didn't have to do that, right? They could have left him in El Salvador. They brought him back. And yes, they did also charge him here in U.S. District Court, but he has due process now to defend himself. And he can, win that case, lose that case, whatever, it'll be decided on the facts of U.S. District Court. But they did that. They did that because of public pressure. Trump also now sent back 2,000 California National Guard troops. Again, one reason was because of public pressure. Another reason is because they literally had nothing to do. And it's because it was just a political stunt for them to do that. And a lot of these National Guard troops, if you read the stories, actually were questioning their own mission of why they were even there. And then you've got federal judges that are blocking a number of these executive orders. Over 200 lawsuits have been filed, over 185 injunctions issued. And a federal judge you may have seen recently said that these ICE raids, where they're just indiscriminately rounding up people at parks and at Home Depots, is unconstitutional. So we just have to keep fighting, and with your help and with the help of the American people, we're going to prevail, and we're going to flip the House, and we're going to stop the insanity. Now with that, I am going to swear in the new incoming board. Is that right? That's right. All right, very cool. So if you all would come up, I will swear you in. All right, so if you're in the new board, please come on up. By the way, I thought the ice cream truck was a really good addition. That was a cool thing.
We also have Ann over here that can't make it down. Yeah. Okay. We have one member over here, Ann. Okay. Sitting at the table, maybe you can mention her. Sure.
So everyone is up here, and then we have Ann, who is back there as well. Right? Okay, very good. So here's their somewhat long oath of office. In order to fulfill your responsibilities in a democratic society, to stimulate active participation at all levels of government, and to perpetuate the ideals of the Democratic Party as members of Palos Verdes Democrats Board of Directors, do you hereby commit to the following: to guide the Palos Verdes Democrats to enhance the growth of the Democratic Party, to promote party leadership, to promote harmony among party members, and to advance the principles of the Democratic Party? Raise your right hand and say, I do.
I do. I do.
All right, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. We had a very long agenda because we had so many outstanding speakers that wanted to join us. And as we conclude tonight, Congressman Liu set the stage for us. I remember a movie called The Untouchables, and at one point, the Malone character looks at Elliot Ness and says, "What are you willing to do about it?" Well, what are we willing to do about it, Democrats? Are we going to fight and win back Congress next year? Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming.